Well, good morning everybody. It's 10:30 and we're going to, we've had breakfast, we've had a couple of teas, so we're gonna start packing up now. We obviously had our first night in the Durston on Dartmoor, so it's kind of like my second night in total in the Durston. And the breeze is coming in a little bit here, and you can see this wall is coming in this way a little bit because the wind seems to be coming that way. But I have pitched it, a little bit off the ground, and by giving myself a little bit of height, obviously I've added a bit of a breeze. That area there, I will admit, has been quite handy for Lassie because I was able to put her mat, so a waterproof bed, this bit, and then a foam mat for a bit of insulation there. And she stayed there all night, I think, so I did manage to get her on that. I'm pitched quite high off the ground, well, a couple of inches or so off the ground, so that did mean that I could put my cooker here. If it was pitched very, a lot lower, I don't know how that would be. I might have to move it this way a little bit more. But, due credit where due credit is due. I was able to, boil water here fairly safely. I had to keep an eye on it, but it was okay. Over here, I've put my pack and obviously my trousers and Lassie's pack I've kind of put there, and my wet socks which have dried out, well, they weren't too damp, so I've kind of put them there. So really I'm going to start packing up because, like I said, at 10:30 time is slowly starting to disappear on me. So I really need to be gone by 12 o'clock. It's not that far, over that way now that we're already up on the hill. It's just sort of, south basically, and then try and find somewhere, in that direction. The slight strange angle business, it does mean that, the flattest area, which was that bit across there, meant that I was kind of forced over this way. Otherwise I could have put the Durston up over that stone or something over there, to try and get this flat area. But it did mean that I am on a little bit of a slope here, so something that you could get your bed in this area here would have been slightly better. So I ended up putting a jacket, under the bed just to raise the bed up, because I found that now I've taken the jacket out, but even with the jacket there, I was constantly, up against this wall because I was kind of sliding that way. So for little nooks and crannies, a bit like this, the Durston is, it's a little bit hit and miss as to where you can get it in, based on the angle of the inner. Now I wanted to mention about foam matting. I did a video on foam matting and its water retention. Check that video out. I was watching Paul Messner's video with Sandy, Wiltshire man, the other day, and Sandy said something very sensible, which I also do, and that's I always have a foam mat with me, usually a bit of thin stuff and something a little bit more substantial, even if it's a small piece, as this is a cut off piece of a Z-light. I always carry a bit of foam mat, if nothing, when I'm packing up and I've deflated my bed. If the ground is cold, then it gives me insulation, you know, from the ground. Also, if I wanted to stop, and then I could put a bit of foam mat down to sit down on. I noticed that Paul said that he doesn't take foam mat. I was just wondering, I don't know whether Paul watches my videos now. I know he used to, but I don't know whether he does now. But is that just a summer, like a spring, summer, autumn thing, or an all year round thing? Because I think in the winter months, I think foam mat is, I think it's mandatory. Because if you have a sleeping pad failure, you need to have something, you know, to keep you off the ground, even if it's, you know, an uncomfortable foam mat so you don't get cold. But I just find them, you know, very useful, you know, all year round. You know, in the summer I might just take a smaller piece, you know, and if the ground is a bit damp and you don't want to walk, and like me, you don't want to have to put your shoes and socks on to go and have a pee. If you've got a bit of foam mat, just put your bit of foam mat down in your door, open your door. If you don't want to go in your porch, I mean, I didn't go here today, but I did go once here. I peed there once, and then the other times I stood on the corner of Lass's mat, which isn't the foam mat, but it kind of serves the same purpose. And if it had been cold, I could have put a bit of foam mat there, opened the door, stood on the foam mat in the door, so I'm not having to put shoes on and all that, not having to go outside, pee outside, and then come back inside again. You know, it's a lot less hassle than having to put your shoes and socks on. You know, equally when it's cold and I can't do that, then I just pee in the porch, so I don't have to go outside. But anyway, you know, basically, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, a bit of foam mat of some description, you know, is very, very useful. And I definitely would recommend that you have some foam mat. So I've brought my old Needle Sports foam mat with me. So that's about 1 meter or so long. I got an offcut there. That bit actually broke off this piece a while ago. So I just used that for Lassie. Plus this Z lights. I mean, it's also light. It doesn't really weigh very much if you have bits here and there. And I actually find it useful not just having just one piece. I like the flexibility of being able to have 2 or 3 smaller pieces that probably weighs the same as one big piece. And then I can, you know, I can strategically position it, as it were. I've used these very old X-Pad stuff sacks. So that's got my medium warm jacket in, that's got my very warm jacket in, and that's got spare hats and gloves and such like in there, and then my vitamins there. I'll say one thing that I really don't like, and that's this stuff sack. I thought this on Cheddar, a comment below other Durston users, but it's too small. You know, yeah, you can get it in, but it's slightly damp. My fingers are damp and cold, and each time I push 2 bits in, 1 bit comes out. I mean, this is quite full, and it's a real, okay, you know, maybe I'm exaggerating it a little bit, but I can't say it's been particularly, you see, I push it in and then it sticks to my fingers. I think the stuff sack could just do with being, you know, a little bit bigger. It's like it's being made to stuff it into the smallest place ever possible. And now you've got, you know, quite a, I mean, you know, there is some, you know, there is some squishability to it, but, you know, a little bit bigger so that it kind of flexes might just be a bit easier than this big round or this small round lump in your rucksack. All right, then we're going to put that we'll put that in the very top. Quite often I will pack my tent and shelter down in the front, but in this instance I've got my waterproofs in the front, and because it is such a big lump, it kind of almost is easier. I think that's going to be plenty of water. It's really quite misty, so we're going to have to navigate a little bit carefully. I was hoping we'd actually see something today, but I don't know whether this mist is going to clear or not. I put a couple of my bits in Lass's pack, so only very, very light, tiny, teeny weeny bits, so I'll put her bed in. My fingers are getting a bit on the cool side. It's not freezing, it's definitely starting to get quite chilly now. Well, at the moment we're well, not quite bog hopping, because we are on an army trail of sorts. It has been, like I said, go back in the videos and we discover when the last time was that I was up here. But I mean, I was messing around with Russian pests for some bizarre reason. Oh well. No hope. Anyway, I mean, that's been for the last 6 years, and I don't think I've been up here in that time, and I'm sure there's more paths and trails coming across here, because this seems to be going across the top, because I'm sure there's another one that goes just down, maybe just over there somewhere, but it was like down in a, well, when I say a valley, I mean I don't literally mean down in a valley, but it was like it's like it had been used so much that you were walking in a valley that was like 1 meter, you know, ish, and lower than the land around you, you know, kind of, you know, wet and like this, but lower down. So I'm not quite sure if I've kind of joined it, or if this is another path that's just been made up, or, you know, used over the last few years. I don't know. Like I said, it has been a particularly long time, you know, since I've been up here. But there's nothing really to report from up here. It's kind of miserly rain, quite breezy, but we're just we're just down here a little bit, so that kind of helps a bit. Now we've got to try and get around. I'm not going to walk through that. Try and keep my feet as dry as possible for as long as feasible. I must admit, so far I am glad that I stuck with my trail shoes on this walk. So much more comfortable than boots. I mean, the longer that you can put off wearing boots, you know, the better. It does make for more comfortable walking. We're basically going across the highest, well, This is the second highest part of Dartmoor. Yes, Tor, which is kind of over in that direction, that's the highest point on Dartmoor. And Hanging Stone Hill and White Horse that we're coming up to is the, you know, is the second highest point on Dartmoor. So we're pretty high up. Kind of coming up to that valley thing now. So I wonder whether we were walking along a newish bit that kind of joined up with the oldish bit, because I'll show you what I mean now. We probably are on the path trail thing that I was talking about. You can kind of sort of see that we dropped down about a metre, yeah. So we are on the path, yeah. We've definitely done this bit before. I recognise this now. Yeah, so you kind of lower down. This is what I was like calling a valley without being a valley. This is a man-made valley. It's maybe a bit more than a metre even, somewhat more than a metre. It's higher than I am on each side. Taking my gloves off because it's walking. It has warmed up a little bit. I think I'm gonna have a drink of water and an energy bar in a minute. Tonight, I ate quite a bit last night. I ate most of my, I've eaten half my crackers, and that was kind of going to be my lunch for today and tomorrow. But realistically, I think I'll be eating energy bars during the day because it's just easier, and the crackers are quite handy as a snack before or after dinner. Oh yeah, I just before I turn off, so we're just coming back out of that funny little valley thing. So I think we're probably close-ish to White Horse thing. I think this area here is, if it's not actually White Horse here, I think we're quite close to it now. Well, not a million miles away. Ooh, it's quite a breeze. Not a million miles anyway, and the path is, with all this bog up here, the path has kind of disappeared. It maybe goes over that way. As long as you're careful, you really can't go too far wrong up here. As long as you've got your map and compass and a GPS just to pinpoint your location is helpful. But realistically, even without a GPS, you're not really going to get too far wrong if you compare the map to, you know, to what's around you. We just need to be going due south. Like that mounty. My God, when was due south? That must have been, what, in the 80s, 90s? Okay, well, we're in uncharted territory here. This is a completely new valley. It's quite close to Stat's house, and that's the Fenworthy Forest, or whatever the forest is called. I was thinking of camping down in that valley, but looking down there, it looks very, very tussocky I can't even see anything down there, but over there, there is some green. I'm half thinking about taking, there's a part that looks like there's a couple of people walking over there, so I'm kind of thinking there's a bit of a path here, take that path along there, and then a bit further down there, drop down and see what that green is like over there. Oh, talk about a mini adventure. First of all, we've not this gorse here, but there's a load of gorse over there that we just about managed to get through. And then there's a whole load of grassy stuff. We saw a green patch up there, which is probably okay, but there are some big green patches just down here which are a little bit nearer, so we're going to aim for those. There was a path, well, I say a path, that was running just down there a little bit, and then it just ran in literally into a bog. Lassie went arse deep in it. Luckily, I might have to go up there. This is what I mean. It's proved to be interesting. Now we've got all this gorse up here. I don't think we're going to get through there. We're going to have to try. Oh, it's all sinky. I think we're going to have to go around, because the green stuff is just over there, so it's not far. I hope when we get to it that we can use it, because it would be a little bit of a pain to slog through. Alright, well maybe this is the path, because that's the path that we were following, but it's just a bog through there. God alone knows what that is there, so we can come around the edge of that. Okay, we're back on. Getting out is going to be fun tomorrow lunchtime. Just this bit. Once we're up, you know, out of this valley, then it'll be easy walking to the next, very easy walking to the next camp. But there's loads of green patches over there. I bet yeah, it's not too, it's a bit sinky, but not too bad. It's just, it's so wet. All right, well we're getting close. Foot went down. We're getting closer and closer to that green stuff over there. So hopefully, I mean, there's some really flat green bits over there. I'll be amazed if we can't find something over there. After all this, it'll be very well deserved too. And the thing is, we've got to cross the water. Let's get over there, because it is the other side of the, it's the other side of the water, which is a bit of a pain. I think it might be better. There's some gorse there. Let's head. I don't know. Is it like a little mining area or something? There's some funny, lumpy, bumpy bits. we could step over there. It just depends whether we can get around that bit there. That's the problem there. Yeah, so if we'd have got to Stat's house and then gone south from E, this is one big, oh, okay. E. Oh, my feet are already soaked. Anyway, the important thing was that it wasn't a bottomless drop, because that would have been difficult. If the foot kept going. Had that before now too. Yeah, we probably would have got around there, to be fair, but hopefully we can cross around here somewhere. We've already got soaking wet feet. Let's go and have a look and see what that green is like. I don't know, let's cross over up here. Oh, dear me. Oh. What we put ourselves through. You usually find if you can aim for not always. Aiming for reeds doesn't always work. But sometimes if you can aim for reeds, they usually have some strength to them. Oh dear me. How we want that green bit over there. That looks, Lassie, come back here. That looks quite deep. You know, I think I should have crossed over there. It would have been easier, I think, and safer. Lassie just makes it look so easy. Okay, all right, well we're gonna have to go here, I think. Right, so let's have a look at the Garmin information. So today we've done nearly 11 kilometers in nearly 3 hours. Maximum speed 6.8 kilometers per hour, average 3.5, which is not bad for me. Ascent 262, descent 397, which kind of makes sense as we were up high and we're down in the valley. Heart rate max 150, average 113. Training effect, base. So we've got base today. Anaerobic 0.9, aerobic 3.6, load 72. Or now it says overreaching. That's good. Acute load 334, recovery 62 hours. Well, that's less than yesterday. Yesterday we needed 70 hours, and today 62 hours recovery. We crossed over there fine. This area here looks to be a good flat area through there. It's not too wet. There's no signal down here. I did recross and get even wetter feet, and just looked over there. There's a couple of maybe possible spots over there, but they're right on the path. There is a path that kind of comes down here, so we're going to be, you know, there just off the path, but I really don't think too many people are going to be coming this way. And there's no signal over there either. I was just curious as to whether there would be something, in that direction, but there's nothing There's nothing over there. I thought I saw a couple of people walking, but then I can see that it's like some bushes or trees moving. So yeah, we've got a new spot down here. It's quite a bit more inhospitable down here. It's much more down in the valley. I'm guessing that Stat's house is up there, up over there somewhere. As I say, the forest is basically that way, so it's going to be fun trying to get back to the forest. It was kind of interesting having to get down to here, but we got here eventually. Like I said, it's not, I don't know, I think it's flat enough. I think go through there actually. It's pretty flat. It's good enough. It's probably better than the bottom of Stat's house that I saw earlier on as well. Anyway, I think we're going to get the tent up. We're not wet, but we are. My shoes are obviously soaked. I think we need to get the tent up, and I think we need to get, you know, under cover. We're under cover. The ground sheet there is damp. That's probably damp. It certainly isn't because it's leaking. It's probably just damp because obviously the overall shelter was damp when I put it away. So I'm going to take my shoes and socks off, and I've put the foam mat down here, and you put your foam mat down and now it's dry. Yeah, you might have a wet, slightly damp bit on the side, but it will dry out quickly enough. So I think what we need to do is we need to get out of these now wet shoes. It's a bit of a shame. I was hoping we'd have a signal this evening, but that's fine. I was watching Apple TV Idris Elba Hijack, which I must admit was quite good. I watched about 4 of them on the trot last night. So my trousers, shoes, everything is definitely much wetter today, mainly from just having to cross. If it hadn't been for crossing that river or brook, they would have been relatively dry, to be honest, because I went quite deep. I think these socks are now wet. Probably where my feet are getting a little bit colder, but if I'd have had boots, I would have had, you know, flooded boots. I think better to have wet trail shoes. We can try. It's funny, in that reaction video that I did, the chap in there says put all your wet stuff in a stuff sack. For the life of me, hello Oscar, I doubt you're ever going to watch my videos, but can't for the life of me imagine doing that. I'd rather have deal with a little bit of extra condensation if you were going to get much, if any, condensation from wet, you know, a few wet bits in your tent. There's so much moisture in the air, and so much moisture in the air and just generally around. I can't see that some just having your clothes dangling somewhere where they have a reasonable chance of being marginally drier by the morning is anything but a good idea. But interesting thoughts. Okay, all right. Now I've got, obviously I'll keep this door closed, this outer door closed, because that's effectively it's effectively my backside now. Funnily enough, I've got a Velbon V-Pod. I've had this for donkey's years, and what I didn't realise is that it's the one that it's the one that Chris uses, Chris Townsend. So that's kind of interesting, and I didn't realise. I got a small towel which I might just dry my feet off in a minute if they don't dry naturally. All my tea stuff that's very important tea stuff, so we'll put that there. That stuff set we'll put back there. That's one of my layers. I'm dry up here, so I can just put that on. Toilet paper. I haven't been I haven't been in the last, since I've been out. I might I don't know whether I need to go later on or not. I spoke about having to go in another video. It's one of the videos I did. I recent ones in the Namaz 3 GT, where I spoke about having to go, and I must admit I really don't like it. I mean, it's fine. I mean, I can deal with it. It's just I find it very inconvenient. I find it inconvenient having to do my convenience. All right, so that's the bedding. So basically, and that's my food. So I've got my food. That's my nighttime stuff in there. Everything nighttime. Everything is slightly damp inside the pack, which we would expect. It's not a waterproof pack, and I don't like waterproof covers. More food. That's that ground sheet. I might try that tomorrow evening up there. That's my power packs and everything. As I brought it, I might get to that spot and just have a bit of a play. Torch. Vitamins. So that's the peg bags. That's the other GoPro. I could just leave that in there. That's the other torch. That's my nose spray and earplugs. I can leave them in there. I don't think I need them. I don't think it's going to be too windy. I must admit, what I should have done earlier on was have a look and see what the weather was. Get an update on the weather. Oh, that's where I put my snacks in there. I knew I'd put them somewhere. I must admit, I've got a few like very minor cuts on my toes because we went through, there was a lot of gorse up there. Really unpleasant going through gorse. I'm going to put the pack there, and then if I need to get pockets or anything I can, and then I've got plenty of room on top of the pack to dangle my wet socks, and maybe they're very, very manky. Well, you know, wet, put them there. I don't think they'll dry very much, to be fair, but and in fact I have on occasions when it's been very, very wet, I have actually known my clothes to get wetter from being out, you know, from just getting damp in the air. So I suppose if you've got dry clothes in those circumstances, it might be worth putting dry clothes in a, you know, in a dry bag. But I think given that they're absolutely pretty much soaked, you could also, and it's something I have done, and one person made a comment about it. Another thing you can do, and I have done it, is put your clothes not necessarily on the mat itself, but on your foam mat between your like your airbed and your foam mat. So you're like compressing it. You can do that as well. I brought the air thing for blowing up the thing, but to be honest, I think you're just as well off blowing it up with your mouth. I really don't think there's a huge benefit of right, so you had wet feet. Now obviously you've taken your wet socks off, you've dried your feet, and now put dry socks on. So nice dry socks. So it's okay to have wet feet, you know, just dry them when you get into camp. Like I said, my top half, even though I wore this, it's amazing really, because I wore this in, you know, in all that mist and rain and everything, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's acted exactly like Paramo, but it's kind of, you know, this Vaporize has kind of acted like Paramo. Oh, it's just typical. I thought I'd hit record and I hadn't. Okay, well, we'll try again. I can't wring these out anymore, but these socks are really quite wet. That's they're still quite wet. So we're going to be very, very brave and put these wet socks in the very bottom of the sleeping bag, out the way. Clearly I'm not going to put too much in the sleeping bag that's wet, but we'll put those at the very bottom, and we'll kind of see we'll see in the morning what they're like. And my trousers, which are quite damp, I'm going to put under the bed, but on top of the foam mat, and we'll see whether the weight, you know, does anything. Probably not, because I think these mats are so well insulated, no warmth is going to get through them. But it might just be, you know, it might just be interesting to put my trousers under there, and we will see what happens. That's the second time I've done that now. I've turned the GoPro on, done the time code, and then forgot to hit record and was chatting away. And of course then it turns itself off not being used. Oh, I'm so stupid sometimes. Anyway, not really very much. I wasn't really talking about very much. I was just saying that I'd had soup with pasta. So basically I put the pasta in, just bought pasta, put the pasta in, one of those flavoured pasta things, and then the cup of soup, I just put that in with the pasta. So the pasta then turned into a bit of a paste. And that seems to work quite well. I've got custard, which you can see there. So I'm having custard, I will do in a minute. My socks are obviously still in the bottom of the sleeping bag, quite damp obviously. So we'll see what happens to them in the morning. And we're watching Godzilla. And I was basically saying, well, all you can do, you know, because it's only 7:30, is try to stay awake unless you know you're going to fall asleep and, you know, and stay asleep. But because I don't want to fall asleep now and then wake up in a couple of hours, I'm going to try and stay awake a bit longer. You know, then maybe try and put my head down at maybe 10 o'clock or something if I'm tired then. No, my luck, I'll wake up later on. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's fine. We're very relaxed and chilled out watching Godzilla. We've been watching Godzilla on Apple TV. Anyone else been watching Godzilla on Apple TV? Godzilla with no Godzilla, which is a bit disappointing. But I suppose their budget is probably limited as it's a TV show. All right, well, I'm going to have this custard, I think, and we'll catch up. We'll catch up a bit later or in the morning.